I saw a Mercedes blocking my side of the garage, but didn't think anything of it. I just popped home to grab my phone. It's amazing how dependent people have become on their phones these days. It contained the notes I had made for the 10 o'clock meeting, and I wanted to make sure I was prepared. Under normal circumstances, I would never be home at 9:15. On the other hand, my wife is a stay-at-home mom with a child. I texted her to see if she was busy, and she replied that she was at the library. She couldn't deliver the phone to me, so I made the 15-minute drive home. I wondered whose Benz it was as I walked through the front door. Since Sienna was in the library, there shouldn't have been any guests. I must be an idiot because when I went to my bedroom to get my cell phone, I saw my wife having sex on the bed in the guest bedroom. I froze for a moment, but calmed down and quietly pulled out my phone, intending to take a photo for divorce, but changed my mind as rage overwhelmed me. I grabbed my lover by the hair and pulled him away from my unfaithful slut wife. He screamed obscenities as I tackled him to the floor, having given him one kick in the groin and another one in the arms, with which he was trying to cover what I was aiming at. I spat on my wife and left the room. At least this bastard was wearing a condom. I was deaf to her cries asking me to stop. She begged me to wait, but I heard nothing. The Mercedes was sparkling in my driveway when I opened the trunk. I quickly looked to see if I had anything suitable and chose a heavy metal jack. That's enough, I said to myself, and began to break all the windows, headlights, taillights, and all the doors of the offender's car. I calmly returned to my trunk, threw the tool into it, and wiped the sweat from my forehead. By this point, my neighbor Heather came out to see what was going on. I waved as I drove away from my driveway, not listening to my wife screaming for me to stop and let her explain everything. We were married for 2 years but dated throughout college. Our son, Sebastian Jr., was 13 months old, and it suddenly dawned on me that I would be paying child support forever. I couldn't believe my world was falling apart, and then the phone rang. I pulled into my office parking lot and got my thoughts in order for the meeting. I met with the owners and my immediate supervisor about the idea of employees working remotely. This would have saved the company hundreds of thousands in rent every year, but they were against it because they were old and not very forward-thinking. I was going to change their minds. I ignored calls from my wife and, surprisingly, her sister, and emailed the notes to myself. I left the phone on the seat and went to do my presentation. I sat down in my corner of the office and breathed a sigh of relief. My neighbor Beth stopped by and asked, "How did everything go?" I smiled. "Meeting? Great. I think we'll be remote by Christmas." "What about my life? In the fucking sewer? What's happened?" "I came home and saw that my wife was having sex with some asshole. My marriage is over." It seemed to me that a smile flashed on her lips. "God, I'm sorry, Baz." "Yes, me too." The landline rang and I saw it was my wife. I thought she would continue to pester me, so I answered. "Please don't pester me at work, Sienna." "Baz, please, baby. You made a mistake." "Yes, a fallen woman. I made a mistake when I married you." Beth laughed and made a gesture, shooting the gun at the phone. I frowned. "No, for God's sake, listen to me. It wasn't me at home. I was in the library. It was Scarlett." I laughed. "Why would Scarlett use our house? Steve works from home. Steve was her husband for 6 months. Could this be true? Could it be Scarlett and not Sienna?" I lowered my chin to my chest and said, "Prove it." "What?" she screamed. "Prove it. Prove it was Scarlett." I replayed the whole scene in my head. I tried to imagine every image, every nuance that I could remember. Nothing helped. "How can I do this, baby? Please. You have to believe me. I love you, Baz. Don't give up on us. Abandon us. You did it. You cheated. You slut." I plopped the phone onto the stand. "Are you okay?" Beth asked. "No. She says it was her sister." Beth laughed. "You saw them, right?" I nodded. "Then what is the problem?" I looked at her and said, "They are identical twins. The rest of the day, I looked like a zombie. I wasn't sure whether to go home, find a hotel, or what to do, but I expected an ambush upon returning home. Sienna and her sister were so close to their mother that I figured all three would be there to pounce on me. I pulled into my garage at the usual time and saw that Scarlett and Verity were already there. Verity was my mother-in-law and could have been a triplet with her daughters. Apart from the extra 20 years that showed traces of experience on her face, she was their exact copy. I approached my ambush, and when they all started cackling at the same time, I raised my hand to stop them. "Shut up, all of you!" I walked over to little Baz's playpen and lifted him out of this prison. "What's up, baby?" I asked, as if he could answer me. I tickled him, and his giggles couldn't help but amuse me. I was worried that after the divorce, I would lose him, and Sienna would find someone to replace me. He was so young. Will he ever think of me as his dad, or will he look at my replacement as his father? It broke my heart. A tear rolled down my cheek as I sat on the couch. Little Baz turned around and slid down my legs to quickly crawl away. All three women looked at me expectantly, and each of them looked like an adder ready to strike. "Okay," I began. "Where is Steve?" "Why does Stevie have to be here?" Scarlett asked. I knew it was Scarlett because she had a mole on the back of her hand. No, I didn't notice her hand this morning. It would be too easy. I was an ass for leaving without letting her explain how she begged. There wouldn't be any problem if I just stayed. "Well, if you were the one who had sex with that asshole in my guest room, doesn't he deserve the right to know?" "I won't tell Steve." "I was hoping you would keep this between us," she whined. I laughed. "You expect me to believe it was you and not Sienna, but not tell Steve?" "I do not trust you," Verity intervened. "Baz, let's not ruin marriages over this." "Oh, you're being a little impudent, Verity." "I'll tell you what will happen. My marriage is broken, and the only thing that can bring it back is Scarlett confessing to Steve that she cheated." The women gasped, and Sienna began to sob. "Steve is too much," Verity said, defending her daughters. "Wait a minute," I said. "I need to change. I'll be back soon." When I got to my bedroom, I called my father-in-law, Dale. "Hello, Baz. What's happened?" "Dale, you need to come to my house urgently. I have a lot of crap here and I need your help." "What's happening? Everything is fine?" "Just get here as soon as possible." I ended the conversation and decided to stall for time. I quickly showered and dressed in comfortable shorts and a t-shirt. About 10 minutes had passed, so Dale should be showing up soon. I went downstairs, looked at the three women who were whispering conspiratorially, and took a couple of bottles of beer from the refrigerator. Just in time, Dale entered the door without knocking, as was usual for him. I poured him a beer, and the ladies went at it again. Sienna began. "Why did you call my father? He shouldn't be involved in this." "Nonsense," I snapped. "I need reinforcements. You're lucky I got to voicemail in Steve's case." Scarlett opened her mouth. "I never called Steve. I never liked this guy and didn't want to see him." "What's going on, Baz?" Dale asked. "Well, today I found my wife having sex with some idiot in my bed, and they're trying to convince me it was Scarlett and not her." He shouted, "What?" I nodded and continued as he looked at the women. "The problem is that Scarlett refuses to tell Steve. She can save my marriage by destroying hers, but she doesn't want to. This tells me that it was not her, but Sienna." "I agree," he said. He looked at me and asked, "What is my wife's opinion?" I frowned. Verity seems inclined to not tell Steve and just move on with her life. She seems to think that her daughters should be allowed to have affairs without any consequences. Verity said, "I'm just trying to save their marriages. I don't support cheating." Dale said, "If I even think you knew about this, or if I even see you supporting it in any way, I will throw your ass out on the street." "Baz, bring Steve here. He should know that his wife is a cheater, and he can decide for himself whether to remain married to her." Sienna's face turned to her sister with a pleading look. Scarlett looked at me and stood up. She shook her head and said, "I'm really sorry. I refuse to tell my husband it was me. I will take risks." "You're a damn bitch," Sienna shouted. "Are you going to destroy my marriage for a chance to save yours?" Get out of my house. And you better understand that I'll tell Steve everything." Scarlett laughed. "Do you think he will believe you? You will do anything to try to save your marriage. You'll even lie to ruin mine." Verity stood up and said, "Girls, stop. The only thing that will save your marriage is the truth." Scarlett grinned and walked out the door. "I didn't expect such a performance," I said. Dale looked at me questioningly. "She plays it out. She said versus she said. If they both blame each other, no one will know for sure who it was. She decided that both Steve and I would think that our wife might have done this, but without definitive proof, there was a chance that we would not get a divorce." "Gee," Dale replied. "Yes, but look at it this way, Dale. This happened in my house. This means that either it was my wife or my wife knew about it and supported the cheater, even encouraging her sister by allowing her to use my house. If Senna doesn't see a problem with her sister cheating, how can I trust that she isn't cheating herself? After all, they are identical twins." "No!" Sienna screamed and ran into our bedroom. I knew that their identity didn't mean they would both be cheaters, but I thought it was a good way to hurt her. Verity turned to go to Sienna, but Dale stopped her. "If you support any of them in this, I will consider that you are supporting their betrayal, and your ass will end up on the street." "Understood?" She nodded meekly and hugged Dale. I lifted Baz out of his chair and kissed him, hoping that everything would work out somehow. I fed Baz dinner and settled him in the playpen while I tried to figure out what to do. Sienna didn't come down, so I figured she was doing the same thing as me. I sat with my eyes closed, going over and over again in my mind the images of the bedroom at that moment, and could not remember anything that could prove that it was Scarlett and not Sienna. I was torn from my thoughts by the ringing of my cell phone. "Hello, Beth. How are you, Baz?" "No way. There is no movement forward or backward. I'm desperately trying to figure out how I can know for sure which one it was, but I'm stuck in limbo. I'm so sorry, Baz. You don't deserve this. If you need anything, I'll be here. Okay." "Okay, Beth. Thank you. See you in the morning." I ended the call and thought how nice it was that Beth checked on me. We've been friends since we started working on the same day 2 years ago. Her workplace was next to mine, and since the office was open, our computers stood opposite each other, and we looked at each other almost all day. She was a pretty girl, a little bigger than Sienna, but she had a dirty mind and often made hints and used suggestive language throughout the day. While Sienna was tall and slender, Beth was short and curvy, with long red hair that she constantly pulled back throughout the day. "Baz?" Sienna said from the stairs. "Yes?" "I swear on our son's life, it was Scarlett. You have to believe me. Believe in my love for you." "How? How can I believe you? If it wasn't you, why the hell did you let your sister do this in our house? You really screwed up, Sienna. I don't see a way out of this situation for us." She sat on the stairs and sobbed. I knew I had to do one thing for sure and called Steve. "Hello, Baz." "Hey, Steve. Did Scarlett tell you about today's drama?" "No. She went to see her friend. I haven't seen her since breakfast." "Well, I'm sorry to tell you this, but I caught one of our wives having sex with some creep on the bed in my guest room this morning." They originally said it was Scarlett, but when I said, "I'll tell you," Scarlett backed down from it. They left everything up to each other, trying to save their own skins. "You've got to be kidding me," he shouted. "No. I don't know who it was and who to believe. It's a complete mess here." "Dude, was Scarlett's car there?" I sighed. "I do not know for sure. I didn't open the garage. I only saw this asshole's Mercedes. And no, I've never seen it before." "Thanks for telling me, Baz. I'll find her and see what she tells me. I will let you know. Thank you." Sienna was still crying on the stairs. "You shouldn't have told him. You just don't understand, fallen woman. You can't play games like this while you're married and not suffer the consequences. If it was her, she would suffer. I don't understand how you could think you could say it was her and I would never tell Steve. This would never happen. We know you don't like Steve. Another reason why I think you're playing with me. I can't believe you did this to us. We have a fucking baby. Little Baz started crying because of my screaming, and Sienna went to calm him down. It made me want to cry, but I refused to shed tears in front of her. She was such a wonderful mom. When we first started dating, she admitted that she didn't care if she ever worked. She wanted to be a mother and have 3 children. She wasn't the type to cheat. It was so out of character for her. She was devoted to me and little Baz and never showed any hint that she was unhappy. I think it was the same with Scarlett, although she was more outgoing than Sienna. If you asked me, I would never believe that she could cheat on Steve either. Crap. The next morning, I called my father. "How are you, Sebastian? How is my grandson?" "Okay, Dad. Listen, I need your help." "Everything is fine?" "No, I need to hire a private detective." I explained what happened. My parents had money and could afford to help me pay for the services of a private investigator. In addition, Sienna handled our accounts. I didn't want her to see the payment. My father did better and assigned a private investigator to check on Scarlett as well. In his opinion, it was worth trying to save my marriage. "Sebastian," he said, "no matter what we find out or don't find out, your son must come first in every decision you make. You know that, right?" I sighed. "Yes. He is the only thing stopping me from divorcing her right now." "Okay, son. You may have to swallow a little pride and ego. I know it's a hard choice, but it's part of being a man. No matter what they tell you, the child is most important." "I know, Dad." I ended the conversation feeling worse than when I started. What makes a man a man? What makes a father a father? Is it a man who leaves his wife, his family, because he was wronged? I wasn't sure that such a person could be considered a man. Does a man put his ego and pride above what is best for his child? Surely little Baz would be better off with 2 parents. But will he be better off if I stay and can't love Sienna the way I loved her before? It's difficult, but I dare say that no, it won't. But then, if I leave her, she will just find someone to replace me. And how will that affect my son's relationship with me? Was my ego and pride worth the pain of becoming a freelance parent? It's all too easy to go the scorched earth route and burn everything down, but at what cost? Am I really going to spend years being fooled by the rules for visiting my son? Is it worth it? I don't see anything good in breaking up and going at each other's throats. I sat down at my desk and saw that Beth had already joined our morning call. I noticed that she had put on makeup and had chosen clothes with a nice neckline. I wondered who the lucky guy was, for whom she went out of her way. I figured she had a date after work. I joined the conversation and saw that a message from Steve appeared on my phone. She said she wasn't the one in your house. I'm not sure I believe her, and I'll be angry that she lied if she didn't. Good luck. Yes, good luck. He was in the same boat as me. What do we believe? Beth sent me an instant message asking, "Everything is fine." I looked at her and shook my head. No. She frowned, and we returned to our call. As soon as it ended, she asked, "Are you going to lunch today? I'm giving you a treat to cheer you up." "I'm not the best company, Beth." "Thanks for the offer, though." "Oh, no. I won't let you wallow in misery. You don't deserve this." I didn't think I deserved a cheating wife, but here I am. She shook her head and growled, "Any woman who cheats on you is an idiot and doesn't deserve you." "Thank you, Beth." The detective asked me to fill out some forms, a couple of profiles, and also send him some photos. I spent my lunch break doing this, so I managed to avoid lunch with Beth. I told Steve about the private investigator, and he was thrilled. He filled out the parts of Scarlett's questionnaire that I didn't have answers to, her daily routine and such, and I returned everything to the investigator so he could get to work immediately. I was hoping he could tell me quickly if it was Scarlett and not Sienna. I knew I would go crazy every day if I didn't learn anything. He said it might take a couple of weeks to find out anything. I was curious why I hadn't heard anything about trashing the guy's car. I expected to get a call from at least the insurance company, and at worst from the police. I got home and saw that Sienna had gone to the pool with little Buzz, so I texted the detective and told him everything was ready to install the cameras. He was in and out in less than half an hour, and I made myself some dinner. When Sienna returned home, I asked her, "Who was that guy?" "Which guy?" "The guy you had." "Don't play dumb." I told you it wasn't me. I have no idea who Scarlett was dating. I called Scarlett and put her on speakerphone. Hello, Baz. Who was that guy? The guy you found in your guest room? I have no idea. One of you is lying, and I'm going to find out who he is, and then I'm going to beat the crap out of him. I was hoping one of them would spill the beans and give me some information, no matter how insignificant. It didn't matter. The private detective knew about the damage to the car and checked the body. A week passed. There was no news from the private detective. Nothing had changed in my condition, and Sienna did everything possible to show that she loved me. Beth was intrusive and invited me to lunch every day. I realized what she was doing and put an end to it. She should have waited until I got divorced to claim me. I wasn't a cheater. One morning I stopped by Starbucks and was completely surprised. I was standing in a line of cars around a coffee shop, and someone walked in front of my car to enter the store. It was that same asshole. I will never forget this face. I pulled out of the line and parked. I stood behind my car and waited. A few minutes later, he came out and didn't notice me until he was 10 feet away. "Hey, idiot," I said. "Remember me? Listen, man, I do not want problems. She didn't tell me she was married." I approached him and said, "Answer one question, and I'll let you go unharmed. You'll never see me again." "Okay, guy, ask." "Who did you have?" "What?" he asked. "What the hell are you talking about? You saw us." "Who was she?" I shouted. "What was her name?" "I don't know her name. We met on the internet on a forum. Her username is Sexy Siren. I called her Siren. I shouted, 'Bastard!' and he flinched, as if I was going to hit him. I took a deep breath and asked, 'What is her phone number?' "I don't have a phone number. We corresponded via private messages on the site. It became harder and harder for me not to hit him out of frustration." "What kind of site is this?" I asked. "This is a subreddit called Chicago Babes. She posts photos there. Some are naked and some are in lingerie." "Did you correspond after that?" "Just one time. She promised to pay for repairs to my car, and I told her I didn't want to hear from her anymore." "I don't need that shit, man." "You better not go near here, otherwise I'll meet you again, understand?" "Yes. Please. I swear I didn't know she was married. Take it off." He left, and I knew he was telling the truth. Fear was written on his face. The most interesting thing about that conversation was that he said that she posted the photos. I may not have a name, but I have photographs. I hope at least one of them showed her hands. I went to the forum page and called work, saying I was sick so that I wouldn't be caught looking at naked women all morning. Reddit was easy to figure out, and soon I had my own username and joined the Chicago Babes subreddit. I looked through photos of attractive and not-so-attractive women who mostly cropped their faces. I found a Sexy Siren post, and it was just a regular lingerie shot. Her hands weren't visible, but I didn't recognize the outfit, and for the first time in a week, I felt better. I clicked on the username and was taken to the Sexy Siren page. There were dozens of photographs, and I didn't recognize the room. They were not made in any of our homes. She must have been holding the camera with the hand that had the mole on it, because it wasn't in any of the pictures. After looking at dozens more pictures, I began to get upset. I tried to identify the room, the clothes, any marks on her body. Hell, even her lips looked like Sienna's. I was at a loss. The photos were at most 6 months old, so the chronology didn't help either. Sienna had already lost her pregnancy weight and had no stretch marks or C-section scar. Another dead end, and it was driving me crazy. I was so close to finding out which sister it was, and then I had an epiphany. I entered the house. Sienna was feeding my son. She asked, "Is everything okay, Baz? Are you feeling well?" "I'm fine." "Could you make me some soup?" "Of course, baby. Sit down. It will be ready in a minute." I saw her phone on the table and sent a private message to the user Sexy Siren. I put the phone down and waited. It was painful. Sienna looked at me and asked, "Baz, I don't want to put pressure on you, but are you close to a decision yet? Every day I die a little without your love." I was about to tell her that I still loved her when my phone buzzed. I opened it and saw a message from Sexy Siren. I'm broken. I cried like a baby, and Sienna rushed to me and hugged me. What's the matter, Baz? What's the matter? I love you so much, Sienna. I would die if it were you. What are you talking about? I told her about my morning and showed her photographs. She looked at them and laughed. You're an idiot, but you're my idiot, Baz. What do you mean? Darling, you said that you couldn't find any differences between me and these photographs. You missed a big difference. I looked at the one on my phone and stared at it. Sorry, I just don't see, I said, feeling stupid. Oh, honey, look. She dropped her yoga pants and underwear and I started laughing. I can't believe how stupid I am. It was all in vain, I said, laughing. I kissed her breasts and asked, It's time to go to sleep? She grinned and replied, Oh yeah, meet me in the bedroom. Sienna shaved her private hair back in college. Sexy Siren had a neat streak of blonde curls. However, not all of our problems have been solved. She may not have cheated on me, but she did let Scarlett use our house. She tried to justify it and make excuses, but I didn't buy it. A few weeks passed, and I received a private investigator's report that said Scarlett had been seeing several different guys in hotels. I relayed the information to Steve, and he kicked her out. I told Sienna that she should cut off all contact with Scarlett, and she reluctantly agreed. She was already mad at her and wouldn't talk to her because of her lies to me and Steve, but she decided they would make up eventually. I don't think so. I told her that if I ever found out that she was talking to her sister, I would kick her out. This may seem cruel to some, but I believe that this is the only way to protect yourself. I talked to a lawyer about a post-nuptial agreement, but my main concern was little Baz, and my state doesn't allow custody to be included in a post-nuptial agreement. In the end, I forced her to sign an agreement that gave me most of the property and left her without alimony if she cheated on me. She signed it without hesitation. He found his wife and her lover at home. He was furious. He hit his lover and crashed his car. He was preparing for divorce, but his wife said that he saw not her but his sister in their house. The problem was that they were identical twins. He hired detectives to keep an eye on the two sisters. But soon, he found the answer himself. He accidentally met his lover in the city, and he explained that he did not know anything about his partner and that he found her on a website where she introduced herself as a sex siren. He came home and saw his wife's phone on the table and sent a message to the sex siren user on his phone. His wife's phone was silent, but he received a reply to the message. Later, the wife pointed out the significant difference between the photographs on the site and her body. Her private parts were always shaved, and in the pictures there was a bush of hair. He was happy that his wife did not cheat on him, but he forced her to stop all contact with her sister. 5-5. He found the traitor with her lover at home. He saw her face, but was not sure that it was his wife. Subscribe to our channel so that your second chaff doesn't cheat on you, and go ahead and listen to the next story, because this story is nothing compared to the next one. If you're under 18, don't even think about listening to the next one.